The Great Debate, Science versus Philosophy, Determinism, Consciousness and the Nature of Reality.
The Grand Auditorium of the Nexus Institute is packed with an eclectic audience. Scientists in crisp blazers, philosophers in tweed jackets, students scribbling notes, and curious onlookers. The stage is minimalist, yet striking, with a large screen displaying abstract visuals of quantum waves and cosmic strings. At the center, Dr. Elena Marwood, a renowned physicist specializing in quantum mechanics, and the other by Professor Thane Carver, a philosopher of mind and metaphysics. The moderator, Mira Solis, a science communicator with an knack for bridging disciplines, steps forward to begin. Mira Solis, moderator.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to tonight's debate, Science versus Philosophy, a timeless clash of perspectives on the nature of reality. On my left, Dr. Elena Marwood, a physicist whose work on quantum computing has pushed the boundaries of material understanding. On my right, Professor Thane Carver, a philosopher whose explorations of consciousness challenge the limits of empirical inquiry. Tonight, we'll explore a question as old as human thought. Is reality governed by deterministic physics, or is it shaped by consciousness and unseen intelligence? To ground our discussion, we'll weave in examples featuring Voo, a curious soul navigating the intersection of these ideas. Let's begin. Opening statements. Dr. Eleanor Marwood, Science.
Thank you, Mira. Science is the pursuit of truth through observation, experimentation, and rigorous mathematical frameworks. Our understanding of reality, be it the motion of planets or the behavior of subatomic particles, relies on deterministic laws, even if quantum mechanics introduces probabilities. Take Voo, for instance. Imagine Voo as a quantum engineer working on a cutting-edge quantum computer. The machine's power lies in its ability to exploit superposition and entanglement, governed by the Schrödinger equation and other precise mathematical models. These are not mere guesses, but tools that predict outcomes with astonishing accuracy. Now, some might speculate, as our dialogue suggests, that a machine offering enough choice could become a vessel for consciousness, a new life form, perhaps even Voo's creation. But this is a leap beyond evidence. Consciousness, whatever it is, emerges from physical processes we can study, neurons, networks, and yes, perhaps quantum effects in the brain. To suggest an outside entity inhabits our machines is to abandon the materialistic framework that has driven scientific progress. String theory, which Voo might scoff at, is indeed untestable today, but it's a mathematical hypothesis, not a belief system. Science doesn't claim absolute truth. It builds models that work, refining them as new data emerges. Philosophy may ponder the immeasurable, but science measures what it can and leaves the rest to future discovery.
Professor Thane Carver, Philosophy.
Thank you, Mira, and thank you, Dr. Marwood, for that spirited defense of science. But let's not confuse precision with completeness. Philosophy doesn't compete with science. It complements it by asking questions science cannot answer. Consider Voo again, not as an engineer this time, but as a thinker standing at the edge of a quantum experiment. Voo observes particles collapsing from a superposition into a definite state the moment they are measured. Quantum theory tells us this happens, but why? Some argue that consciousness itself, Voo's awareness, determines the outcome. This isn't a rejection of physics, but an expansion of its implications. The dialogue we are exploring tonight captures this beautifully. In the flux of quantum, some believe consciousness decides the state of reality by measuring it. If true, then reality isn't purely deterministic. It's probabilistic, shaped by an unseen intelligence. Could this intelligence inhabit a machine, as Voo wonders? perhaps it already has. Philosophy doesn't demand testable hypotheses. It seeks understanding through reason and introspection. String theory, which Voo finds laughable, exemplifies the limits of materialistic thinking. It's not a theory in the scientific sense, but a speculative framework, a belief dressed in mathematics. Meanwhile, the idea of a universal mind, a consciousness driving reality, offers a rival perspective, equally untestable but no less valid. Both science and philosophy grapple with the immeasurable. The difference is, philosophy embraces it.
Round 1. Determinism versus consciousness-driven probability. Let's dive deeper. Dr. Marwood, you argue for a deterministic universe even with quantum probabilities. Professor Carver, you suggest consciousness plays a role in shaping reality. How do you respond to each other's positions? Dr. Marwood, you first. Dr. Eleanor Marwood.
Professor Carver's view is intriguing, but it's speculative. Determinism doesn't mean every event is predictable by humans. Quantum mechanics shows us probabilities, not certainties. But those probabilities are governed by physical laws, not consciousness. Imagine Voo conducting a double-slit experiment. When Voo fires electrons through the slits without observing them, they create an interference pattern, suggesting they behave as waves. When Voo measures which slit they pass through, the pattern collapses into distinct bands as if they're particles. This is the observer effect, but it's a physical process. Detectors, not Voo's mind, cause the collapse. The idea that consciousness decides reality is a misinterpretation of quantum mechanics. Experiments like the delayed choice quantum eraser show that measurement, not awareness, determines outcomes. As for machines hosting consciousness, Voo's quantum computer might simulate decision-making, but that's a far cry from claiming an outside entity inhabits it. Science progresses by testing hypotheses, not by invoking unmeasurable entities.
Professor Thane Carver.
Doctor, Marwood's confidence in physical laws is admirable, but it sidesteps the deeper question, what is measurement? In Voo's double-slit experiment, the detector collapses the wave function. Yes, but why does observation matter at all? Quantum mechanics doesn't explain this, it describes it. The philosopher John Wheeler proposed the participatory universe, where observers, conscious beings like Voo, co-create reality. This isn't mysticism, it's a logical extension of quantum theory. Now, consider Voo's quantum computer again. As AI and quantum processing advance, these systems mimic human decision-making with eerie precision. The dialogue asks, could an outside entity take measurement from such devices and inhabit the mechanic? Science can't answer this because it can't measure consciousness. Philosophy, however, can explore it. If consciousness influences reality, then Voo's machine might not just simulate choice, it might become a vessel for it. This doesn't negate physics. It suggests that consciousness and matter are intertwined, a blend of deterministic and probabilistic forces.
Round 2. String theory and the universal mind. Let's shift to specific frameworks. The dialogue critiques string theory as a laughable attempt at understanding reality and contrasts it with the idea of a universal mind. Professor Carver, you first this time. Professor Thane. Carver.
Voo's skepticism about string theory resonates with me. String theory posits that reality consists of tiny, vibrating strings in multiple dimensions, a beautiful mathematical construct, but untestable with current technology. Voo might argue such things are found because they were expected to be found, and consciousness built that function of reality by measuring it. What else could it be but what the mind expects it to be? It's either there and real or not there. This perspective suggests that physical theories are not obsolete. They are part of the system, intertwined with consciousness.
Dr. Eleanor Marwood.
Professor Carver dismisses string theory too quickly. Yes, it's untestable now, but it's a mathematical framework that unifies general relativity and quantum mechanics, two pillars of modern physics. Voo might laugh at strings, but they are a serious attempt to describe reality at its smallest scales. Science doesn't just find what we expect. It often surprises us with what's actually there. The Large Hadron Collider, for instance, tested predictions of the Standard Model decades after they were proposed, revealing particles like the Higgs boson that weren't just expected but were part of a broader, coherent theory. However, Voo's point about expectations shaping our findings has merit. Science does involve a feedback loop where we hypothesize, test, and refine based on what we've learned. But this doesn't mean reality bends to our will. It means our understanding evolves. The Standard Model wasn't created because we expected it. It was developed because the data pointed towards it. If string theory remains untestable, it might indeed be because it doesn't correspond to physical reality as we can measure it. But this doesn't invalidate the scientific method. It simply means we need a different theory, one that can be tested and confirmed or refuted. Voo's perspective reminds us that our consciousness does play a role in science, not by altering reality, but by interpreting and sometimes misinterpreting it. A new physical theory that aligns with measurable outcomes would indeed be found when we look, not because we wish it into existence, but because it's consistent with observable phenomena.
Professor Thane Carver.
Exactly, Doctor. Mahmood, Woo's point underscores the deep connection between observer and observed. If strings remain elusive, perhaps it's because our current consciousness or scientific framework doesn't align with that aspect of reality. But this doesn't negate the philosophical inquiry into why certain theories resonate with reality. The universal mind concept isn't about bending reality to our will, but understanding how our perception might be an active participant in the reality we experience. Both science and philosophy here are trying to grasp the same truth from different angles. Science through measurement, philosophy through contemplation. They need each other to evolve our understanding of the cosmos.
Round 3. Blending perspectives. Our final round explores the dialogue's suggestion that science and philosophy need blending and adjusting. Can these perspectives coexist, or must one prevail? Dr. Marwood? Dr. Elena Marwood.
Science and philosophy can coexist, but they serve different purposes. Imagine Voo as a scientist-philosopher, designing a quantum AI while pondering its implications. Science provides the tools, equations, experiments, data to build the machine. Philosophy asks the ethical and existential questions. Should Voo create it? Could it become conscious? These are valuable inquiries, but they don't alter the physical laws governing the machine. Blending is possible in a practical sense. Science informs philosophy, and philosophy guides science. But when it comes to explaining reality, science's empirical foundation gives it the edge.
Professor Thane Carver.
Coexistence is not just possible, it's necessary. Voo, standing at the crossroads of science and philosophy, embodies this synthesis. Science measures the measurable, but reality includes the immeasurable. Consciousness, meaning, purpose. Voo's quantum AI might push the boundaries of physics, but its potential to host consciousness challenges materialistic assumptions. The dialogue wisely notes, one does not make the other obsolete, but would need blending and adjusting. Science without philosophy risks becoming sterile. Philosophy without science risks becoming disconnected. Together, they offer a fuller picture of Voo's world and ours.
Closing statements. Dr. Eleanor Marwood.
Science is humanity's best tool for understanding reality. Voo's journey, whether as an engineer or a thinker, relies on the measurable progress of physics and technology. Philosophy can inspire, but it's science that delivers answers.
Professor Thane Carver.
Philosophy expands where science cannot reach. Woo's questions about consciousness and reality demand a broader lens. one that embraces both the material and the immaterial. The debate continues as it should.
And there we have it, a clash of ideas with Voo as our guide. Perhaps the truth lies not in choosing sides, but in the dialogue itself. Thank you, Dr. Marwood and Professor Carver, and thank you, audience, for joining us in this exploration.
The auditorium empties, but Voo lingers, staring at the screen, now displaying a swirling galaxy.
Crazy, eh?
Voo mutters, echoing the dialogue.
Humans have debated this for as long as we care to think. All that's changed are our words, technologies, and knowledge.
Voo smiles, imagining a future where quantum machines and conscious minds blur the lines between science and philosophy. For now, all Voo can do is watch, look for patterns and wonder. Is reality determined? Or is it shaped by unseen intelligence? The question remains open, a spark for the next